Greetings, fellow members of the Esoteric Order of Gamers. It's been a while since we've had a joy of unboxing, and today we're going to unbox something a little bit special. It's Dark Imperium. It's Warhammer 40,000 8th edition. The box set, the ultimate Warhammer 40,000 box set, according to the box itself. And as you can see, it's quite big and it's rather heavy. And it's also a little bit flimsy. I'm sorry to say the cardboard is a bit flimsy, but let's have a look inside and see what we get. Now, I do have a confession to make. I haven't played Warhammer 40,000 for a very long time, and in fact I've hardly played it at all. I do have quite a few figures going back to the old days. In fact, I've got the old plastic Space Marines, the original release. In fact, I've got some of the metal Space Marines that came out before that. So I've got some quite early ones. But I've never collected it much because Warhammer Fantasy Battle and Warhammer 40,000 have always been way too expensive. Now, I'm going to get this out of the way now. Games Workshop charge far too much for their products. Everything else is fantastic. The artwork is great, the background is great, the quality of the miniatures is fantastic. The games are good. I prefer the boxed games, not so much the big tabletop games, because I think the rule set is a bit old-fashioned in that you have one player having their whole turn and then the other player having their whole turn. I wish they'd move on from that, but... And also, I think there's a lot of dice rolling. Yeah, so anyway, I'm not a huge fan. But the big barrier for entry for me is price. In Australia, Games Workshop is way too expensive. In New Zealand, it's even worse. When you get up to charging $45 or something for a single 25mm miniature, I just say, rack off. I'm not paying that. Forget it. So, why am I opening the Warhammer 40,000 box set, I hear you ask? Well, I'll go into that at the end of this video. In the meantime, it's not a box. It's a sleeve. And I hate these sleeves. I'm sorry, I paid a lot of money for this game and I want a proper box. Now, I appreciate they've done this nice artwork and they've put the sprues within this individual box, but look at this, it's flimsy. This cost $200 New Zealand, and that's cheaper than the price you'll get it from the New Zealand Games Workshop website. That's 50 bucks off or something. And I still don't get a hard box. I do like this, however. This is very spectacular when you open the box and you get a little sticker seal there, which is cute. And the good thing about this starter set, and one of the reasons I bought it, is because it comes with the actual hardcover rulebook. Yes, you don't have to buy the rulebook separately. This is a fantastic move by Games Workshop. I'm really impressed by it. You've got the hardcover book in the starter set. Great stuff. We've got some other books here. These are army lists for the Space Marines and the Death Guard that come in the starter set. Very nice transfer sheet. And, oh look, it's a flimsy cardboard liner. There's a plastic range ruler. Floppy one. Some nice dice, nice translucent red plastic dice. They're very nice. And of course a bunch of bases, even a couple of flying stand bases. So that's that. But it's probably the figures that you're curious to see. So let's have a little look inside here. Okay, so I've carefully slit that sticker with a knife. Open up, and here are the sprues. 2 large sprues, like so, and then 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 small sprues. And really, what can you say about Games Workshop miniatures except they are exceptionally good. It's great hard plastic, the detail is sharp, it's beautiful. These are going to take a little bit of constructing, of course, but these are quite lovely. I'm not denying the quality is always there. And of course what you've got in here are the Primaris Space Marines. So you can see they're quite a bit bigger, longer legs, not as stumpy as the old ones. And it's a bit of a leap forward for Space Marine technology, Mark 10 power armor, all that kind of guff. And against them are the rotting hordes of the Death Guard, which are Nurgle worshipping, and they have this bloat drone thing here. Ugh. So I'm sure there's lots of other places where you can see these miniatures all made up. Of course, I've got quite a bit of work to put them all together and paint them. It's going to be a bit of a project. Right, well, we've got a very detailed and colour book describing how to put all the miniatures together. Fantastic, lots of great detail there. Some paint suggestions, where to put transfers, the whole bit. Looks beautifully detailed. Quite a project ahead. You've got a nice little core rules booklet, and I love the way this has been done on a little fold out thicker card. This is really nice, lovely design. That's great stuff, really good. And here's our stats, I presume. Angels of Death, captains, agents, lieutenants. Some nice photography there. Transfers, colour schemes, the whole bit. Just as an aside, my first Space Marine chapter, way back in the days when they started Warhammer 40,000, I bought some Space Marines. I called them the Purple Haze chapter, and they had sort of a background of rock and roll and drug taking, and they were purple and yellow. Yeah, that was the idea. It didn't last too long, but I did paint some up in that style. Back then it was all about making your own chapters, not just following these ones. Anyway, there are the stats. And here are the ones for the Death Guard, so great background information. Another excellent thing Games Workshop have done with this edition of Warhammer 40,000 is to bring out all the information about the different armies in one go. So they are in separate books, but there's only about 4 or 5 of them, and you don't have to wait for codexes to come out one by one, which is excellent. So let's look at the rulebook itself. Very nice stuff. There's a gloss varnish on there, as you can see, and oh, look at that, very nice, very nice design, clean stuff, lots of great bold artwork, photos of millions of miniatures, painting tips, smiley happy people playing Warhammer 40,000. Fluff material. There's a nice ribbon here to keep track of things. Here's all the background stuff. Da-de-da-da. And over here the rules. More shiny happy people playing games. So the rules, it looks like, start about here. And there's different types of play in this edition too. Match play, narrative play, and open play. Oh look, this just looks fantastic. It's a beautiful looking book. Let me see, let's compare it to the original edition, shall we? Hold on a tick. Here it is, folks, Warhammer 40,000 Rogue Trader, the original edition of Warhammer 40,000. And this is where it all started. Just black and white in those days. My goodness, what a long, long way we've come. So, back to 8th edition. And we've got some scenarios in there. Background material, photos, artwork. It looks fantastic. I'm really looking forward to going through this. So you may ask, why did I buy Warhammer 40,000 again after quite a long while? I think the last edition I bought was 4th or something, I don't know. The reason is I want to give it another go, just for the fun of it. The only problem is that I won't be buying large armies because they're just too expensive. But there's some starter armies in this. I've got some old figures that I can rope in, so I can play a few games of Warhammer 40,000 again and see what it's like. And also, I was really attracted by the fact that you get the hardcover rulebook in the starter set. I really think it's a shame that they don't have a nice solid box. This is very, very flimsy because I like to keep the boxes and I like to store figures in them sometimes and things like that. But I guess most people, I've got to admit, most people just buy the armies. They'll have the book separate. They'll probably never use the box. So there you have it, folks. Warhammer 40,000 Dark Imperium. Do I think this is worth getting? Yeah, I think it is. You get a hardcover book. You get some nice miniatures. It is very expensive, but it's not outrageously expensive like a lot of Games Workshop stuff. The only problem is what you do with it after there, and if you're willing to pay the high prices involved in getting some serious armies together. Some people think that's fine. I I'm frustrated with the fact that pricing seems a bit arbitrary to me. That's the only criticism I have. The new Games Workshop is great. I mean, White Dwarf magazine is an interesting read again. It's worth reading. It's chock full of stuff. I love what they're doing with Warhammer 40,000. I'm not crazy what they've done with Warhammer Fantasy Battle and the Age of Sigmar, but I never play that game anyway. They're communicating with their fans again, which I think is the most important thing. And I'm really, really pleased that they're going in this new direction. So I'm a big fan of Games Workshop in some ways. I'm just always disappointed that I'm kind of priced out of the market. And I'm an older guy with a bit of disposable income. So I can't imagine what it's like for younger kids because it's just so expensive. That's my only criticism. Otherwise, Games Workshop still market leaders, let's face it. And certainly with this set, I think they'll be bringing a lot of people back to Warhammer 40,000, like they may have brought me back to it in a small way. So I hope you've enjoyed this unboxing. Warhammer 40,000 Dark Imperium. Apparently the ultimate Warhammer 40,000 box set. Maybe it is.